defensive outfit that has held sway all day against the plucky power. Fremantle in round one, go 1-0. A great start on the road for the Dockers. 22-point winners over Port Adelaide. A great start to their 2025 campaign.
Alrighty, we're back for the second half of tonight's recording with our AFLW review. They have opened their season on Sunday afternoon at Alberton Oval, and unfortunately, despite a valiant effort at times, it's an interesting one to get into, which we certainly will in a moment with Jamie. 3-6-24 was your Port Adelaide score versus FREO's much better 7-4-46. I don't even know where to start with it, but Jamie, you and I were down there. I got to take some
We were. Hello, everyone.
Yes, it was wonderful to be down there with you. A beautiful day down at Alberton, in which we always recommend the experience to go down there. I think there was 2,800 down there, and it ended up being quite a nice Sunday afternoon for footy. Unfortunately, not the result we wanted, but got my sister and my brother-in-law and their little 2-year-old nephew down for his first game ever, and my sister and brother-in-law not being huge footy people, I'm trying to encourage them to, and they enjoyed it as well, and my wife being there as well, which was wonderful. Gemma Houtland's 75th. There was lots of reasons for celebration, but as a way into getting into the game, a little bit of an antithesis of what we've known of this team in their early years. I'm not going to call out, I think their effort overall was okay, but I think wondering how you feel about just this opening way of looking at it. I think as we've trying to progress to be a cleaner team and a better team, and obviously that's where we want to go, we've maybe just there's a little bit of push and pull as to what we've been doing well, like, contest and just being hard at the ball was kind of how we built around the immaturity of the side, so to speak, is just how young they were as the way we built the squad. I'm disappointed in some of the numbers in this one, and I'll get to them in a moment. Just eye test, I think you and I talked about it on the day. We're a little bit soft isn't the right word, but we're a little bit maybe trying to be a bit too cute with it and sacrifice some of the things that have got us to the point where we thought we were going into this year with.
Yeah, for me, just my first thoughts were that I thought we started really sluggish.
Mm-hmm.
We looked to be second to the ball, obviously, early doors, but also a little bit unaccountable. Freo always tended to find a free player out in space, which in the AFLW is very damaging because, and it's obviously constantly evolving, as we know, and it's part of the journey, but typically, and just, centralizing on what we experienced last year, once Port could get it down their end, and I think this is fairly similar across most AFLW matches, gaining territory is very important because it tends to live in that particular area for extended periods of time. But unfortunately, if we did manage to get our hands on the ball early, it wasn't in our half anywhere near as much, or attacking half, I should say. Freo seemed to be a bit harder at the ball. We seemed to start with some lead in our shoes. And unfortunately, Freo, particularly the first two goals that they kicked, way too easy and way too close to the goal face, their opportunities, because as we know, inside 50 metres, it's a two-touch score generally in the AFLW. So you should be defending your 25 to 30 metre zone a lot better than that. And the first two goals kind of set the tone for Freo's ascendancy. As the game wore on, though, to our credit, I think our intensity lifted, particularly after half time, a little bit at the end of the second quarter. But unfortunately, where Freo were getting good looks at goal, we tended to either kick it shallow and then it getting turned over and heading back the other way, or we just didn't capitalize on some genuine opportunities. One, I believe it was in the second quarter, was Abby Dowrick's set shot, which came off of a free kick, basically right in front of goal, 10,
Mm.
15 meters out, and hitting the post, which would have really given us a nice injection of momentum heading into halftime. But yeah, unfortunately, we were off the pace early. We came back with aplomb and we had real chances to gain the lead, which we didn't possess at any stage in the game. But through a drop off in intensity or a lapse in concentration, perhaps, and maybe some questionable umpiring decisions, Freo snatched back ascendancy, kicked the goal in reply to our initial goal in the fourth quarter, and then yeah, it was kind of one-way traffic from that point on. And then unfortunately, we looked to tire. So we've started sluggish, come into the game with intensity, and I was really impressed with how they started the second half, but then
Mm.
unfortunately ran out of gas, which is a bit of a concern, obviously. But it is only one game, so we're keeping it in context at the moment. It's just yeah, because I think we discussed it on Sunday. Because we made a prelim, um, we are kind of filled with this confidence and expectation, and I don't think they quite lived up to that expectation, and we'll find out whether that expectation is warranted or not over the coming months. But yeah, to start off with, it wasn't great. Um, uh, yeah, and unfortunately, a couple injuries off the back of it.
Yeah, yeah, we can touch on those in a bit, but very certainly didn't help defensively. Though we, when the effort was there, we kind of gave ourselves the opportunities. We just didn't do enough with them going forward. But yeah, just a couple of the numbers that were really concerning out of it. Obviously, it's kind of a similar story. For those that listen to the men's reviews, there's some similar, not like this isn't just a comparing to men aspect, but just as far as kind of people that understand how I look at some of the stats and how we've looked at a lot of the men's reviews. A similar story here, and the Dockers had more of the ball, 270 disposals to 224. But then we look at tackle numbers, and lo and behold, when I get to it, Freo had 83 tackles to our 69, so they were plus 14 on tackles, even though they had plus 40, plus 46 disposals. So as we always say, if you're losing disposals by a significant margin, you should at least be winning tackles, and we didn't do that. Obviously, that led to contested possessions was close, but 122 to 124. But it was just that kind of stuff outside. As you said, their ability when they got the ball out of their defense, like I think I said to you a couple of times watching at the game, we're letting the first kick out of defensive 50, whether it be from the like we've just scored a point or just like a turnover in the dip in our half. We'd often let almost an uncontested mark, it felt like, out of the 50. Then they quickly turn it over and then somehow have a free runner out in the wing or somewhere, and just like they get two kicks downfield, and we quickly cede that front half possession with giving them two kicks. And I think it was at the end of the first quarter. I'm just scrolling down here. Like the timeline on the AFLW website has although they struggled around the stoppage, Freo were dominant on the outside in the first quarter, being plus 19 in uncontested possessions, plus 11 in handball receives, and plus 7 in uncontested marks. They actually ended up only plus 8 in marks for the game, and they were plus 5 in contested marks. But yeah, like it's kind of that sluggish start really set the tone. And we know that scoring can be more difficult in AFLW, and particularly, and then it was even tougher in the fact that, when we had probably our most ascendant point in the game, which I think was the third quarter, 11 inside 50s to the Dockers 7 in the third quarter, but we just weren't able to hit the scoreboard. We kicked 1 goal, 1 in the third quarter versus, Freo still, they managed their 1 goal, 1 as well, but they had the 4 less inside 50s, plus just the kind of, because we had the ball in our front half. We just weren't.
We looked a far better side in the third quarter.
Yes.
I would agree. Yeah,
it felt like we
capitalize.
Felt like we were coming into the game, and it was just. And then when Popey kicks that one in the fourth quarter, and you get within 5 points, you go, yeah, this is the time. And then unfortunately, we just don't have the ability to string it together consistently going inside 50. The efficiency inside 50 numbers were quite stark, 36.4 for us versus their 47.1. So they just, were able to find the targets, and then they finished better, like 7 goals 4 versus 3 goals 6, very close in scoring shots as well. It's just we missed some very, very gettable opportunities, unfortunately, as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, we finished the game with 9 scoring shots to their 11.
Yeah.
So all in all, and because yeah, the stats are really interesting because there are lowlights, like you mentioned. We suffered in disposal in comparison.
Mm-hmm.
Suffered is a weird word to use. Like they had a lot more of the ball. Yes, they were tackling us more, but they had a couple more turnovers, and they only beat us for inside 50s by 1. Obviously, the inside 50s are an interesting statistic in the AFLW because an inside 50 isn't as favorable as it would be in the men's game,
I think
just as a binary stat.
Well, you and I have talked about before that we'd like an inside 25 would be an interesting stat for AFLW.
Yeah.
It's not like you want to change the game for like you
Or
want
an inside 30.
Inside 30, yeah, just have that as like just as the game develops. There's some
Because that's the true attacking zone of an
Yeah.
AFLW footballer.
Mhm.
But I guess to say, and like last year, we put a high focus on marks, and I think 40 marks in comparison to last season is actually a fairly decent effort. Obviously, Freo had
We had some games
49.
last year that was 20 marks in a game. Some
Yeah,
real
sub 20.
yeah.
Marks inside 50. But yeah, it's just where they are,
Mhm.
particularly the marks inside 50. Um, so yeah. Um,
Oh, we
while
had one more mark
some
inside 50
statistics
as
are
well, which is
alarming.
what's insane. But
Yeah.
it's
So it's potential. Again, it seems that we're potentially looking to um, impact with fewer possessions, like per possession, we're aiming to impact more, a little bit how we did last year,
mhm.
trying to gain territory first and foremost. But I think what we found out, or and look, we're going off one official match of the
Mhm.
2025 season, but just in reflection, where last year it was territory at by all means at any chance. Obviously, we did make that prelim, so teams are going to go to work. And on reflection, it did seem like we were getting it around the center line, whether it be center wing, true center, or the other center wing, uh, and aiming to kick it long from there, as opposed to
Mhm.
finding that extra possession around 70 to 60 meters out. And that's where Freo kind of feasted on us getting such shallow entries and turning the ball over. But to still generate 9 scoring shots is where we go, okay, we were clearly dominated in transitional play in chains of possession. Freo obviously prefer to link up and whatnot, but we also forced them to turn it over a couple more times than we did, and we still generated 9 scoring shots to their 11, like I said. So at the end of the day, um, with a couple kicks going where they should have gone, you're bridging the gap a bit further. But that doesn't excuse the fact that they looked on their back heels to start the game, and they need to. We did build into last season, it's worth saying, and again, we expect them based on how they finished to start in that fashion. But yeah, it's not going to get any easier with the next game, and that's projecting forward, obviously. But hopefully they do build into the season. But more importantly, hopefully they learn how to start games a lot better than they did,
Mhm.
um, because it was left too few in the early portions of that match on Sunday.
Yeah, which we'll certainly get to a few of those in when we get to the votes because I think there's some standout performances in there. But yeah, unfortunately, you had, and it's not like, and I think even some of the standout ones, just at certain times, it was just like it is still just a little bit of that inexperience was showing in how to deal with the situation. Like Freo came out with an intent, maybe just, and Freo are a team in a similar position based on what we think of how they played last year and where they finished. Very similar position, win loss totals. We had a close game against them last year, and again, this game was close right until the end, and FREO just kicked away at the end. But yeah, they had a edge in class in those crucial moments. And sometimes in a game like the AFLW, and you've got two teams that are similarly matched up, it is just purely comes down to those moments of class. Better kicks, better disposal, ability to take marks at the right time. They kind of just were able to. I mean, yeah, again, there was some questionable umpiring that led to the kind of their breakaway goals towards the end, and we were certainly. I think it is very funny because there is the whole like I just dropped to my knees in like Walmart kind of memes, but I did actually just drop to my knees on the outer at Alberton, like when that I think they kicked that goal that got them beyond the goal again. I was just like, and it's something to do with the umpiring, and they just made me just drop to my knees. I was just like, oh god, this is how this is going to happen. Like, and it felt like we were really coming into the game, but unfortunately,
Yeah, that's right. Because it was that. I forgot about that. It was they got their first goal of the last quarter through what the majority of people thought was a pretty questionable decision, but it was in almost point blank range.
yes, it was, yeah.
But just basically a gift, and that it had a tangible effect on the vibe of the game and where the momentum swung from that point forward. It was a
Mm.
real circuit breaker for Fremantle. Um,
It was that fucking asshole, the
and
Ghostbusters, that shuts down the grid. That's what that was. Like
yeah,
the
yeah,
energy
for the
of
whole town,
the
lets out all the ghosts again. Yeah.
yeah.
Um, but I only learnt today that apparently they are giving no prior opportunity to the women's game. Caitlin Pope was on Sports Day
Mhm.
SA and was chatting to Blighty and Wilds. And yeah, again, we should probably be better, like more over rule changes and whatnot, but it's more using the AFLW as guinea pig type stuff. And so I think where we drew some frustrations at Sunday's game, and I'm sure other football fans across the weekend in the AFLW draw some frustration because we would have seen a lot of what seemingly was questionable decisions where like the AFLW players who look, we're all cognizant to the fact of where the AFLW is. It's a burgeoning professional comp. Skill level is different to the men's game. That's just an objective fact.
Even
But
just
to
the
further
gap
impede,
between players that have come up through systems versus ones that have kind of come into the game
yeah,
later in life because of just
yeah,
yeah,
that's a fair point too. There's a
yeah.
talent imbalance even within the
Mhm.
AFLW. But to further impede their competitive nature by trialing the no prior holding the ball rule is just, it's fucking dumb. Fucking dumb. And like, so then I believe it was David Wildy mentioned to Popey in the interview that like he saw players apprehensive to pick up the ball because
If they know
if you
there's no
do and you
prior,
get
yeah.
tackled and if there's no prior,
Hmm.
so yeah, I think it's a joke. The AFL loves shooting itself in the foot when it comes to AFLW. I don't agree with that rule change whatsoever. Obviously, I want to encourage these ladies to get dirty because we admired how contested particularly our games were last season,
Yeah.
and I don't
It was
stray
our
away
one. It
from
was
that.
our
I
one wood,
like
so to speak. It
contested
was like
football.
that was how everything
Mm.
that has been what the Port Adelaide team has grown since day one has been. All right, we're not that experienced. There's a lot of young players. That the very first thing we're going to instill in this squad is a sense of contest and
Yeah.
no prisoners taken kind of, and then from that we can hopefully grow out the skills as the team builds year to year to year, and you get these players that are not 18, 19, 20 now. Once they get through to 22, 23, 24, they've already got that contest instilled in them, and then once the skills come, that's when our golden age shall come. And then yeah, if they're going to have that kind of rug pulled out from them because they're just going to arbitrarily decide to trial a rule that yeah, it's just yeah,
That no one really wants.
no.
What people want in the AFL men's competition is for holding the ball to actually make sense. We don't want there to be no prior. I think that would, yeah, open up another can of worms. But at least the AFL men's competition has 150 plus years of experience to adapt a bit more readily than where we're at in the AFLW journey.
Mm.
And the ball is more often than not kept in close proximity. And yeah, just manufacturing or shoehorning a rule like this to open it up. And that's exactly what they've done it
Well, then
for.
they won't even
And
find
hey,
consistency with that anyway. So what the fuck are we doing?
yes, and that was another point that they made in tonight's interview, tonight being Tuesday, the 19th of August
Mm.
on Sports ASA, that is that they noticed that in the first half, or sorry, I should say the second half, it was perhaps being adjudicated a little more loosely than it was in the first half.
Yeah.
And like, yeah. So we're already getting up and coming umpires or umpires who have come out of the AFL men's competition. Um, yeah, we're expecting these people with who are developing in the scheme of professional umpiring um, to just adjudicate this ridiculous rule, which doesn't suit the competition, in the name of opening it up, which I think is just a fucking ridiculous. Yeah,
It's going to be, yeah.
again, but high scoring doesn't necessarily mean good, and low scoring doesn't necessarily mean bad in all on all occasions. So
Mm.
don't agree with that. And then yeah, to go back to what we're talking about, oh yeah, the umpiring drew the ire of the fans on more than one occasion,
Mhm.
quite palpably. Particularly, the more beer went down people's throats. I think.
Yeah.
The Port Adelaide crowd started a bit so-so, but definitely found their voice as the game wore on, that's for sure.
Mhm.
Like I said, the 2,800 crowd, strong crowd, which, yeah, credit to everyone who came.
Yeah. It was a beautiful day for
Yeah,
it.
weren't impressed. And that particular free kick, and I can't exactly remember what it was for. I haven't actually been able to fit in a replay since the game,
Felt
but
like there was a
it
fucking
definitely
bullshit
had a
front on
tangible change.
contact, some stuff there as well. There was like
It
something on
it
that in there.
seemed very sus.
Yeah.
That's all I remember. It seemed
Mm.
very suspect. But
I mean, back to
it's
the,
how it was adjudicated, and it obviously took the wind out of our sails a little bit.
yeah. And I mean, to try to be objective about it, we often say, look, we'll talk about umpiring and whatnot as much as, you know, as footy nuffies I want to do. That's what we do. We blame everyone but ourselves. But I will also, and we've done this before with the men's side, is like, yeah, you've got to give you, like, we had opportunities to win that game off our own backs as well, whether it be through some poor disposal going inside 50, some just the lack of pressure. Like I said, the sluggish start didn't help us because we gave up two very easy goals early doors there. That, like, and you know, 2-goal head start to any team in the AFLW is a significant, like, just stranglehold in the game that you've taken. Even though it's not that it's difficult for teams to come back in the AFLW, but it is. You're not going to get 10-goal quarters in the AFLW.
It's weighted more
Yeah, exactly.
than the average footy pundit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
acknowledges.
Derek missing that one, you know, hitting the post from, you know, pretty much dead in front. And, you know, we love Derek, and she's going to feature
Yeah,
in the votes a lot this year, I'm sure.
but I think but not only her, I think Ash Woodland and Ella Heads late also had decent opportunities
Yeah.
to score as well.
Mhm.
Ella Heads was actually from a bit further out. She gave it a good roost, so perhaps I'm being a bit harsh on her, but
Did give it, yeah.
we definitely know that
I think we actually were like, I think she almost got like she got the distance, but she faded across, and so it landed.
faded. Yeah.
And there was she'd actually, you know, but yeah, I mean, I was impressed with that kind of. I mean, you just mentioned Woodland. I mean, she spent a lot of time on ball, which we've seen times.
Good.
Yeah. Shout out to Simon, who's one of our Patreon members, but he messaged after the game and kind of just a few notes that he had, and he said, yeah, Woodland should spend more time on the ball, and I kind of just read through his message again before to refresh myself, so shout out to Simon again. But yeah, you just gave away your immediate notions, and we've talked about it at times last year.
Yeah, we talked about it last year. Yeah, for sure.
It seems like there's a concerted effort that she will. I mean, I think this is something we have to acknowledge as well. We are in a fucking injury crisis after week one. We were bordering on it going into week one. And
is this Port Adelaide?
Yeah, we are Port Adelaide.
2025.
We are Port Adelaide Injury FC. I think we have been hamstrung a little bit again, like just pun somewhat intended, by the fact that we've like Teakle and Wendland, sorry,
Wendland,
Woodland and
yeah,
Wendland is
two
that
genuine scorers.
yeah, because Woodland on ball as well as like a float down forward, like obviously her abilities at forward and whatnot, is a great weapon and lever to pull both back and forth, but that lever is blunted by not having a Teakle and a Wendland, and you that we talked about it in the preview that where maybe the forward lines where we see some weakness at the moment. I think that's bearing out, and then when you have unfortunately Piper Windows is gone for half a season now. When you say 4 to 6 weeks, that's unfortunately half a season when we're talking AFLW terms. Emily Borg's out for 1 to 3 weeks as well. I assumed that was going to be worse, but Windows come out of nowhere. So we're already, starting to to getting tested, and yeah, I'm already looking at, you want Woodland up forward as well, like what, and then we're going to see some depth, and we got surprised last year with the likes of, Tegan Jermack had a decent game in this one as well. We had injury replacement players come in last year and actually really impress us and are part of our lineup this year, and. But the depth is getting tested already, and I think like in the storyline of this game, I think the fact that our forward line is where some injuries have come from in preseason has blunted maybe some of that plan. It doesn't give any excuse to the sluggishness and some aspects, and I'd like to see that. I think they can still find a way to dispose of the ball better, but I think there is some aspects to how that game went and what I saw against Collingwood in the practice match as well that bears. The reasonings to that are that there's two players in Julia Teakle and Caitlin Wendland that were going to be starting lineup players going into this year, and they're both out. And that's kind of where I see some of their deficiencies at the moment are, and just the fact that the horses aren't there that they were hoping to have going into this year.
Oh, absolutely not. And on the topic of bringing Ash Woodland around the ball. It's worth keeping in mind that apart from Maria Maloney, our centre is Dowrick, Schultz, Ella Bogue, Piper Window, sans injury. Our centre is actually quite young. So, apart from Maria Maloney, like I said, and then when Kirsty Lamb comes through there, that adds experience. So, it's all about getting that balance right. And I think three of FREO's best players on the day were all there kind of seasoned veterans. On top of Mim Strom, who's just a fantastic young player as well. She's 23. So while all those players I mentioned are talented, they are young. So there is a need for balance, and that balance comes in age and experience too.
Yeah.
But yeah, at the moment, we kind of have to make moves that we're robbing Peter to pay Paul a little bit. Not having Teakle and Wendland there as scoring opportunities seriously impedes us in that regard. But I mean, again, very similar to our men's side. You look through the injury list and you're looking at first choice players throughout most of the injury list.
You had Gemma coming up ground a lot, and she's right, like trying to make things happen. And unfortunately, it's probably to the detriment of her own game again. Yeah, like Rob Peter the PayPal, like she's getting around everywhere. Was trying to inject herself into the contest, and I think she had a reasonable impact on the game. Probably just not the impact she wants to have because she's not able to do it in the positions that she can be the most damaging. And, again, congrats to her for game 75, and hopefully many more to come. But yeah, just again, like we suddenly just felt there was a little lack of structure to it, and then we couldn't get Matilda down there to do what she maybe plug. Like I think it's just that some of these injuries, and it has to be said that when you have Emily Borg go out of the game in the first quarter, she started really well as well. She goes out of the game towards the end of the first quarter, so you've taken away who we
really looking forward to her year as well.
Yeah. I mean, look, hopefully that 1 to 3 weeks means that she's going to be back soon, and hopefully with no further issue, knock on wood. But yeah, you're immediately fucking with your structure within a game when you lose a player as who is the key cog of that defense, and like someone we look.
And if you don't have her, you're hoping for ex-captain Janelle Cuthbertson,
Yeah,
who's a fairly decent presence in our backline, who is also injured for 4 to 6 weeks as it currently stands. So
yeah.
we're at a hiding to nothing.
Hmm.
Um, in saying that, though, in the context of an AFLW side, we still have the talent on the park,
Hmm.
and clearly, even with those impediments, we still had some things going in our favour for portions of this game,
Yeah,
which they'll need to. That's where their focus needs to lie. Obviously, they're capable. There's a lot of talent, a lot of grunt, but we need to find a better way to enter inside 50, and we need to find more scoring options, because without that, we'll just be a sitting duck until the back half of the season, and it may be too late by the time we get some of these players back from injury. So Lauren Arnell's going to have to shift the magnets a little bit and just kind of put some aces in places for the time being. And yeah, look for some improvement in some places where we're not perhaps looking at the time, like right now,
hmm,
or previous to this week's game.
yeah. Yeah, there's still some little, like even just in the individual performances, a few that, again, the marking has markedly improved across the last 18 months. Certainly, we talked about some games of the marking. Our ability to just take a simple mark was quite dire last year, but I think, the 40 marks for the day speaks for itself as far as that improvement. Like Kirsty Lamb running around getting 6 marks, and there were some really, really good performances. I'm sure we'll get to that in the votes when we get to them, but yeah, it's still there's players like as good as game as she had, and she always does. Matilda Schultz, she's got a few extra, strings to the bow that she can add when she really. I think so. I think she is incredibly young, still getting used to her body as an AFL player, and sometimes just her ability to impose herself on a marking contest could still improve. Um, it's just her ability to mark the ball. Like she should have first rights to almost every ball that comes near her, and just sometimes doesn't take the mark. There was just a couple on the day that she dropped, and I was just like, that was yours. That was, and that's just part of. That's not like solely down to her, but she is a player that whether she has, I mean, she has earned it with just some incredible performances early in her career. But when you're looking at all those surveys from AFLW players and captains and fans, like Matilda Schultz is going to be our best and fairest this year, yada, yada, yada. I'm like, there's a few things that she needs to just round out before she truly is our best player, in my view. Like, she won our best and fairest last year, like for the team, but you and I had
Hmm.
Dowrick as our player of the year last year. And I think that's kind of where I still stand is like, Matilda Schultz does not have the mantle as the best player in this team. She might be the most marketable, and as she should be, and she is close
And
to.
she puts in a lot of hard yards.
Oh, who
Like
can
that gives
she?
her a lot of credit.
Yeah, she is in, like, I'm teasing forward. She's in my votes, and so like there's a lot
Mm.
I love. Like, I'm just like, it's more to the point as to one of the reasons that maybe we're not quite there yet is like, and it's not just her. It's Gemma's game was pulled out of where she'd like it to be, and as such is stunted a little bit. I'm sure Ash Woodland would probably like a little bit more cleaner, like a little bit more ability to impact the scoreboard as well. Like, she had her chances, and there's like a lot of players just had chances to do the thing that they're good at. Like Dowrick taking a shot at goal. Like, we love Dowrick's kick. She's kicked some great goals in the past, and she's got a good
Oh, there's
leg.
plenty of room for improvement out
Yeah.
of Sunday's
So it's
game
like
for
all of these
sure.
players
And
are
it
in.
is one game.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's where it'll help. And that's kind of where you do sit there and go, okay, FREO are going to be a top 8, possibly top 4 side this year. I don't know where they're going to. I said to you at some point during the game, towards the end of the game, that we'll know more about what this game means in 4 to 6
Hmm.
weeks, and we'll get a fairly good litmus test of where we're at when we play North Melbourne this week as well, being them being reigning premiers and not losing a game last year. And I haven't actually looked at what they did this last week either. But yeah, we're going to know more about where we're at, and maybe this performance, later in the year, we'll go, shit, that was pretty good actually. But yeah, North had a reasonably comfortable win over Geelong, so they're still probably going to be pretty good. But Yeah, it's interesting. You just got a lot of that's what some of the positives are. There's a lot of those players that at doing 95% of things well. They've got those little things that they can improve, and they're all fairly young as well, which is what's
Mm.
quite promising.
Well, and I thought Matilda started slow last year, much
Mm.
like the team as a whole. Um,
Yeah,
so again, if we can replicate that kind of trajectory like last year, we'll all be pleased. And we kind of discussed that a little bit at Alberton as well. Like we've got
hmm
7 home games and 5 away. Obviously, we've dropped 1 home game now, but if we can secure the rest, and then pinch an away win, then that's the same amount of wins as we got last year. So again, I think it's just where expectation versus reality comes into it. We finished the year in a prelim. We just expect that to roll on, but sometimes it's not that simple. But
yeah,
just looking through some of the players as well, like Shanae Goody had a strangely quiet game, only getting the 9 possessions. You can
yeah,
imagine what another, you know, 10, 5 to 10 on top of that would do to, like, especially when you're speaking of inside 50s too, because she
yeah.
is generally a good ball user. I mean, she went at 77.8 with her 9 disposals. Um, Schultze, you mentioned Molly Brooksby, while she's had possessions and meters gained, her disposal efficiency is usually a bit better. So
Yeah.
there's definitely room for improvement sorry, from some players who we've seen what they're capable of.
I look at it like this,
Um,
and I think we had this to interject on the disposals thing because I think we talked about this last year at times. When we still didn't have enough, like we'd often be, we don't get enough of the ball, and when you look at the other opposition team, like our top disposal getter in this game was Abby Darrick with 18, if I'm remember correctly, yeah.
yeah.
18 disposals, and she went at 44%. The next best was Woodland at 35, and she went at 35% efficiency. Kirsty Lamb went with 16 disposals at 37% efficiency, and then there's Saatchi with 15 disposals, 33%. So you got our top four disposal getters going 18, 17, 16, 15, and the best being 44%. You look at FREO, you got Gabby Newton at 22 disposals at 54. You've got Kiara Bowers, 22 disposals at 59%. Aisley McCarthy had 19 only at 26%. But then you go Megan Kaufman, 19 disposals, 57%. And Emma O'Driscoll, who had a great game, 18 disposals. And she kicked 3 goals. I think it was O'Driscoll.
3 goals,
Yeah,
yeah.
418 metres gained, 66%. And then you go even down to they've got guys at 17, 17 at 82%. There's one in there, Sarah
Mm.
Korea, 82.
Yeah, they
So they've got
definitely like
better.
to share it around a bit more than we did. It's like I was mentioning earlier. We're
Yeah.
going for a bit more of a direct route to our forward line, but
Mm.
we just need to be careful that it's not too predictable and teams can set up at that 60-meter zone.
And that they did that well because I think they knew, right? Like, so that's part of it is like, okay, we're a team that's got a bit more respect in the competition now due to our performances last year. They're probably, they know but they probably know what we're going to do, and they were able to plan around it effectively, and trust in their game, their ball users, and their key, their prime movers of the ball to get them downfield, and that's what they constantly. We saw it time and time again on the day two. Once they got over that the kind of that half back line, and we saw them get free, it's like, oh shit, we're out here. Like they're out here.
Mm,
We're in trouble
mm.
here, and like it's AFLW, it takes a bit more to get it down the field still, but um, yeah, there was a telegraphed nature to what we were doing at times that fed right
It
into
was
it.
just a feeling of, oh, we're going to have to work hard now to
Yeah,
impede it or turn it back over, because of the ease in which it was getting out to Freo's center attacking wing and or even half forward flank.
yeah, yeah. No, they had. I mean, that's the thing. We're a younger side. We'll continue to develop the game plan and the skills. Like, and that's what I look at it. I look at it very. There is a lot of hope in the fact that there's a lot of young players that are just. I think I said to you on the day as well. It's that balloon kick aspect to it. Like we've got a lot of young players that are still developing, and like so they kick
Mm.
it and they balloon it rather than the more direct kicks that some of the Freo players
Yeah.
like. That they
Um,
balloon it in a spot.
penetration.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and we just balloon
I
it.
know we
You know,
were frustrated a few times at
yeah,
yeah, some good contest stuff and getting it slightly on the outside of a stoppage or a contested situation and then just bellying the ball straight up in the air, which, yeah, is not ideal, obviously.
Yeah.
But it just seems so simple to the layman. Again, sweeping Dorito crumbs off of our bellies, but um, some simple fixes, I would have thought, and hopefully they can draw on their experiences from last year to know what works and what gets them in the right frame of mind and what gets them in positions to score, which is the most important part of it all, really.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and positions to score, because the Freo, to their credit, while we missed a few opportunities, they generally found themselves in good positions to score and then finished it off as well. And whereas a
Yeah.
couple of times we had good positions, and then we score a couple of really good ones like Popey, doing some magic late after kind of messing up, and Juzzy kicking a couple of great ones as well. Like there was some good stuff, but it's just like there's a little bit more. The 3 goals we kicked come from a little bit more chaos, whereas Freo's was like they worked towards a goal and scored the goals the way they want to score them, and then a few free kicks as well. Yeah, there's a little bit of that to it as well. So, yeah, a lot to love, but yeah, one I wanted to touch on beforehand. Anything else you want to bring up? Go for it before we get to the votes. But Indy Tahoe, I think she was a bit more indifferent than I was. Really, she was locked in. She still actually ended up pretty good across the disposals. I'm interested to see how you kind of saw her in her comeback, being that it's your first time being able to watch her in person since 2 years ago. It's an incredible comeback story for her. I think she dropped a few marks that she was just absolutely clunking in the last pracky match, but overall. She's going to be very, very important going forward, particularly with the injuries now. We need Indy Tahoe, and yeah, glad to see her back playing games for premiership points. Interested to see how you kind of saw her game.
Oh no, I was a big fan of her game, presence, but also just a penchant to break the lines or
Yes.
take the opposition on and to really drive the ball forward without apprehension. So yeah, that presence is a handy inclusion when on the topic of who we've got on the sideline. So yeah, for a first game, proper game back in 2 years, effectively, I was very impressed and gives her a good springboard into the games to come in this season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. No, I'm really excited for her to be back, and yeah, she's particularly there was one line breaking moment, and at some point during the game, it was probably the moment I probably cheered the most when she just bust through some contests, and it's like that's what we need a bit more of is like that line breaking talent, and the fact that it's really promising to see her come back from injury so confident, and it's probably while it's been a long and arduous recovery for her, I'm sure, and probably frustrating for her at times, and then the length of time out of footy, like it's bearing fruit now that she's truly fit back. Knock on wood, there's no other injuries around the corner. But as far as what she's recovered from, like she's clearly confident in her body, which is talking about just randomly talking.
Wow,
about,
she looks strong.
Yeah, we were having sitting around having a few glasses of wine with some people today that in my adventures today, and a lot of us in our late 30s, early 40s, and so a few of us talking about not playing sport again because of just the lack of trust in your bodies. It is a real thing, a mental and that's just us. We're not professionals or anything, so it's more like how do we trust our bodies while we have to try to work?
Oh, my body. Oh, yeah.
But but that mental side of coming back from injury is a real thing. So to see Indy come back so confident and having those line breaking moments is really, really, really cool to see. So. Happy with that. You happy to get to votes and our first AFLW votes of the year?
Yeah, for sure.
Let's hit the sting again. I have to hear it twice in a night. Now it's time for the CREEDCAST Player of the Year voting. I hadn't actually thought about the fact I got to fucking hit that twice in a night for the next couple of weeks. So when we're doing the men's and the women's in the same night,
maybe a good time to record a fresh one for the W
possibly.
season.
I just got to find the time between all the wine I'm drinking.
Wow, I'm sure. Yeah, you'll be all for changing the sting.
Yeah. Although I feel like I have to keep it for the men's just for the bit, but yeah, I might find a
One
better
more to
one
go.
for the women's.
Mm.
You get to go first for our first AFLW Player of the Year votes this week. So I found it an interesting project to do to get mine together. So I'm interested to see where you go with yours.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. So I'll start off with a couple of honorable mentions.
Mhm.
Molly Brooksby for me, very unlucky to miss out. From a meters gain point of view, she picked up where she left off last season. But like I mentioned before, she's generally a bit better with her disposal efficiency, which is a huge aid to us transitioning the ball. She takes a lot of kick-ins.
Yeah.
So honorable mention for her. Always an honorable mention for Ebony O'Day, just a cult figure and one of our favourites of the show.
Hmm.
So needed to build into the game, much like a lot of others, to be fair. But once she did get into the game, it was Ebony O'Day stuff, just chucking her body around, contest to contest, just gritty, determined, everything you would expect. So, a couple of honorable mentions there. My first vote goes to Matilda Schultz, as we discussed before. 88% time on ground, granted, putting in a lot of hard yards as more of a solo ruck in this game
Hmm.
in particular, and in comparison to last season. 25 hit outs, which she actually won hit out as well.
Yeah.
Mimstrom, who I believe was we discussed that the other day, she was the All Australian ruck for the AFLW Team of the Year in 2024. While I feel Strom's presence around the ground was a bit more influential for Freo, Schultz won the hit out battle, 12 disposals, 13 contested possessions. So one
Hmm.
more contested possession than a disposal, four intercepts. She did go at 58.3, 208 meters gain. I do have a high expectation on Tilly. She is obviously my favourite player. Um, so that's probably knocked her down a few pegs. Seven clearances, four score involvements. But yeah, being there live at ground level, I I expected more. Oh,
Yeah.
and that's not to denigrate her because yeah, she's still a wonderful player and still part of the best players on the ground. My two votes goes to Indy Tahu, as you just mentioned. For a lot of what we just discussed, it was comeback, it was breaking the lines, it was driving the ball forward, taking it on. 12 posies, five of which were contested. She went at 75% disposal efficiency, so bucking the no, it's not a trend. It's obviously room for improvement in the AFLW comp, but we keep it in context. And um, you know, what determines a good game disposal efficiency was is comparative to the averages that we see both in our side and across the competition. But for her to be going at 75 while getting 12 disposals, that's awesome. And hopefully that can be replicated each week. 192 meters gained from her, three marks, and three rebound 50s. My next three votes goes to Sachi Syme. She drew a lot of cheers from our section of the of Alberton Oval.
Hmm.
I feel like she had to mop up a lot. Um,
Yeah.
Again, through Freo's ease in which they were shifting the ball from back half to front half, and Sachi Syme just being a bit of a wall at times off a half forward line. Um, just looking strong, looks just keen to impose herself contest to contest on opponents, but also aiming to support teammates too.
Hmm.
She's a fairly smart, and I believe one of those burgeoning leaders of our AFLW program.
Hmm.
15 disposals, 12 kicks, nine contested possessions, 11 intercept possessions, which kind of speaks to what I was talking about, just being a bit of a wall on the half back line. 316 meters gained and three marks for Saatchi.
Hmm.
My four votes goes to Ash Woodland. Spoke about her a little bit already. While her disposal efficiency was down, she had the 17 disposals, six of which were contested. She did the hard yards for a lot of the game.
Hmm.
275 meters gained and four marks. She also had three score involvements. So,
Yeah.
again, we'd like her to get a goal or two on the board just to really frank that influence on the game. But a good starting point for her season and Look, not to be boring, but basically write it in permanent marker, I guess. Abby Dowrick is my 5 votes, which is a huge surprise to everyone. I mean, she had the 99 AFL fantasy points, not 90% time on ground. So Ash Woodland and her had 90% time on ground, which is in the top. That's equal third.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of time, yeah, a lot of time spent. Obviously, shorter quarters and all that. We all know as we're listening to the AFLW podcast, we're all cognizant to how games are played, I hope. And if you're new to it, then welcome and join the journey with us. Thanks for joining us. But back to Abby Dowrick, she had 18 disposals, 15 kicks, 9 contested possessions, 5 intercepts, 390 metres gained. She had a couple of marks. She had that shot on goal, 3 scoring involvements, 5 inside 50s as well, and 10 tackles. Sorry, that was another one of Ash Woodland. She had 6 tackles. So getting gritty, getting tough, but getting posies as well. Abby Dowrick also with the 4 1%ers. So she is definitely picking up where she left off last season. Just would have been nice for her to convert that goal when we needed it.
Yes.
But nonetheless, she's the best on for me.
Yeah. Love that from you. There was a couple. It is interesting in the how I found an interesting project and how just there is the differences in how we play and some of the players we have. There's a couple of differences. So there's 2 that you have in your votes that I have as honourable mentions, and that is Indy Tahoe and Ash Woodland, which it shows how much of an interesting project it is that your second best on is an honourable for me. So my 1 vote has gone to Matilda Schultz as well. Would love to have had her up higher, but again, it's just like some of that eye test stuff that you're talking about. It's just, what kind of had her down where she was. So my 2 votes, I threw Kirsty Lamb in there. I thought just some of her, what she injects as far as her energy and kind of what like she brings to the contest and just some of that experience as to just like kind of how to lead with the energy, I guess, was really, really impressive. She had 6 marks for the day, which was by far our best on field. She just kind
of... It's a key stat that we focus on too.
Yes, yeah. She had a couple of clearances, which is beyond a couple of particular players. Two clearances was basically best. It was like her and Jasmine Stewart had 2 clearances. Maria Maloney as well, but otherwise it was a couple of singles beyond a couple. Which Matilda Schultz being one of them. The other one I will mention in a moment. The other key difference to the votes. But yeah, I liked what Kirsty's experience brought to the field. She was 3rd best in disposals, a lot of it uncontested, but she went at 37%. So, like I said, there wasn't a lot of good percentages as far as our disposal efficiency goes. But yeah, there was something about her energy she brought to it that I enjoyed, and like you're going to need, particularly with the injuries at the moment, with the likes of Window being out now as well. Yeah,
absolutely, yeah.
She's going to be.
I was thinking about that. We're going to be relying on her. Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right though. Speaking of Piper, I actually got through in for my 3 votes. She was our 2nd best clearance player by far on the day. Obviously, Matilda had 7 herself as our ruck woman, but Piper had 6 clearances on the day alongside her 6 tackles. And almost 300 metres gained. She had 293 metres gained, which I think is 2nd best on field for us. No, sorry, 4th best. Sorry, no, completely wrong. But yeah, just for like her kind of the contest player she is, and she had the 2nd best on field. Sorry, that's where I was going. 2nd best on field in the contested possessions. Basically, 11 of her 12 disposals were contested possessions. A couple of intercepts as well, a couple inside 50s, but kind of just between the clearance game and the tackles and the contested ball, like it's just something that I've really loved in her growth since her debut last year. Like from there to now is just like such a world apart in players. She's still got so much more growth to go, like working on that disposal efficiency, all those things. But this game being the way it was a little bit tough. And so for her to inject herself into what was a sluggish game a little bit and play so well. It's so heartbreaking that she's out for the next half a season with that injury.
Yeah,
because her
totally agree.
Yeah, her development is going ahead at leaps and bounds across her first season and a little bit that we've seen. So I had to throw into the votes. I hadn't even seen the injury news when I did the votes, but I thought having the second best clearance game by far, as well as like throwing in the tackles in the contested game. Like she really kind of, she's setting the tone at such a young age. I really, really appreciate her work.
Good call.
Yeah. My 4 votes gave to Saatchi, same reasons as yours.
Yeah, Sarch.
You and I there was a few, you just did it, but there was a few, Saatches from our corner of the.
Yeah, absolutely. It was my catchphrase for the day.
She was, there was a bit of barometer about how Saatchi kind of went about it, roving across half and doing what she did to try to. I think the game goes a lot worse if Saatchi isn't in the form she was on the day. Obviously, she turned the ball over a bit as well, which is probably, I think if she hadn't had a bit more disposal efficiency and hadn't turned the ball over quite as much, she might have pipped Dowrick. I've got Dowrick at the 5 vote best on ground as well. But I seriously
you don't.
I seriously considered Saatchi for best on ground based on her impact there. Sarch. I just think some of the she just turned it over a bit when trying to go back with the ball. There's a few moments where she took a great mark. I was like, yes, Sarch, and then she kicked it. I was like, oh no, like it just came back again. That's probably the only reason she doesn't actually get best on for me. Maybe it's just a little bit of that.
I think to put a positive spin on it, I think some of those occasions she was actually looking for some short 45s to create link up. I think on just a few occasions they just kind of sat up and allowed the opposition to come in and influence the contest rather than being a pressure relieving mark to a teammate. So I like that. I like that. That's the decision that's being made. Just obviously, would like the kick to be a bit more precise.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, and that's like she's got like the game intelligence that Saatchi's showing. I think is really, really good. Like obviously, to take that many intercept possessions and marks and whatnot, and just be there for those, you have to have a fairly good read of the game. And then obviously, you're talking about those kicks she's trying to bite off is also a good read of the game. It's obviously just not quite getting there, and then it's the way FREO are playing versus how we were playing as well. But it's funny, a lot of differences in the votes, but then at the end of the day. Death Taxes and Abby Dowra getting 5 votes on the CREEDCAST.
I think we had a little bit of that last season as well, because it is a bit of it's just
so
another
good.
Interesting.
Even if
she's head and shoulders.
Yeah,
she's just amazing. But the AFLW, there's just bits and pieces that draw your eye, and obviously they're not standout statistics when you frame it in from one perspective to another in regards to the men's season and the women's season. As football fans, as we do, we know what stats we're generally looking for, but with the AFLW again, like 10 years in, things evolve differently, and just what you look for and who you think is impacting in certain positions on the ground. I think we had a bit of that last season. So I look forward to going on that journey again with our girls in 2025.
Absolutely, yeah. And hopefully plenty more games ahead, good games ahead for a few of these. Like the likes of Piper, unfortunately, out for the next half a season, but hopefully she starts featuring in votes pretty quick when she gets back. Looking forward to continuing the journey and watching the girls as they go forward. Obviously, I think I mentioned it before, but a brief note that we do play. So our first away game of the year is this Sunday. It is Sunday, isn't it? Yeah. For some reason, I thought it was Saturday at first, but it is Sunday is what I've got in my notes here. We play North Melbourne, the defending premiers, who haven't lost a game in a year and a half or whatever it's been since they last lost. I think it was the grand final 2 years ago maybe, but... we play the North Melbourne Kangaroos, clearly an incredible outfit in the AFLW over the last couple of years at Arden Street Oval in Melbourne, Sunday afternoon at 12:30. So a real stern test for our girls. And obviously we got handily beaten by them in the regular season last year. Obviously the prelim, we were the team that had to face them in the prelim. They did a fairly good number on us there as well. So there's a real good chance. And look, it has to be mentioned, the injury list is there, and Emily Borg's obviously a key linchpin in our defence. She's out for the next 1 to 3 weeks. And then the other one out of this week was obviously, we've just mentioned a few times, Piper Window's out for the 4 to 6 weeks. And then you've got the likes of Cheyenne Hammond, who we liked a lot of what she did last week. She's still out last year, 3 to 5 weeks. We're still 3 to 5 weeks away from seeing the very, very highly vaunted Lauren Young in the side. JC, Janelle Cuthbertson, former captain, 4 to 6 weeks away. Julia Teakle, 5 to 7 weeks away. And then you've got like Caitlin Wendland out for the season. So there's a significant injury list there. Yeah, it's just like same as it ever was.
Fucking hell.
Yeah, so sorry, I just almost swallowed a frog, I guess.
Choking on my own rage here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm so upset. Yeah, so there's that to take into account with going into the game against North Melbourne this week as well. It should be understood that they are the cream of the crop in the competition. We are still a work in progress, as well as working through some injury issues as well. So keep that in mind when you go into the game this week. But it will still be a good test of where we're at and how, because Kangaroos did handle us very, very well last year. One game being some quite torrential rain at times. Obviously, the prelim final, I was just humming at that point as well. So it's going to be a really interesting game to watch. Obviously, I assume you are probably on the same page as I, that you'd be putting everything on the Kangaroos if you had to choose.
Oh, yeah. If I've got $10,000 and someone says to bet on the winner, I'm betting on North Melbourne every day of the week. But I want to see what our girls are made of. I imagine Alyssa Brooke will get more time on ground, spending some time in defence. Indy Tahu's going to have to lift. It's particularly down that end, but it's in every phase of the game, in every third of the ground. Everyone's just going to have to take another step up. And like I said, Lauren Arnell's going to have to put some aces in places just to hold sway until we get some of our first choice players back. I'll put, but obviously we'll be discussing that once teams are named on Thursday. Still on Patreon for the time being, but likely opening both reviews and previews up to everyone as we head into the AFLW season proper, so we can take as many people on that journey with us as possible.
Yes, yeah, no, absolutely. Looking forward to continuing the AFLW journey and having everyone along for the ride for that one, because that's it's important to keep getting people involved, because it is a great league to follow, and we've got a lot of incredible talent in this in our Port Adelaide side, regardless of the injuries and whatnot at the moment. And we want to encourage everyone to stick along for the ride and enjoy the fact that if you're a footy nuffy like us, like Port Adelaide support continues right through November. It's really fun. So come along for the ride. Obviously big week this week as the men's season comes to an end, but we absolutely encourage people to not consider football as over. There's a lot to love about the Port Adelaide AFLW side as it continues to develop. I'm about knackered, Jamie. We're hitting about midnight. I'm sure you're ready to go.
It's been fun.
Yes, it has. Yeah, it is an interesting time of year when we have to do both, review both. It's a lot of stimulation. It's just the stats coming out the wazoo, but it's nice and fun, and we're certainly looking forward to getting towards the end of the men's season and reviewing that, and then continuing into the women's season. So nothing more to say from me. Jamie, thank you as always.
Thank you.
Calm the pair, and calm the lady pair as the season gets going.
Calm the lady pairs.